Hi, and welcome to Star Lighthouse. I'm Prashant, and this is weekly reading for Sun, Moon, Venus rising in Taurus. This is a general read, so I would suggest take whatever message resonates with you and leave everything else behind. And if this reading does connect with you, there is an extended to it. The link for that extension is below in the description box. I hope you like the reading, and if you do, please do like, subscribe, and share. That would be very helpful. So, Taurus, how are you doing? It's almost Thanksgiving time, right? Happy Thanksgiving. Hope you're able to get some time to reconnect with your family. I know it's hard in 2020, but if you can find some time to connect with your family, that'd be great. It's just like it's a great time to be grateful, especially like this year has been so hard to be grateful for whatever we have. So maybe you can find something within you this year, this week to be grateful about. Take a deep breath. Let go of all the thoughts. Now focus on the thought and the feeling that brought you to this reading. What's bothering you? What's your current concern? Take another deep breath and let go of everything else and just focus on the thought. Maybe this reading has an answer for you. Let's see what's going on for you this week. Chariot energy, moving forward. Being blocked by Three of Swords, some pain from deception or moving, like what's being left behind, past situations. Star, connecting to yourself. So star generally happens when, like star card in Hearts Defined, it happens when somebody blocked you and then you had to shine yourself, so you showed your true energy. So that could be pointing towards Chariot, we're moving forward, but the Three of Swords is about what has been left behind, the pain of it. Mind's ambition, Seven of Wands, competitive power. It's like believing in self and then believing in self-worth and then able to go outward and show that in different situations that arrive in front of you. Heart's desire, King of Swords, someone who is intellectual, who can take into account like all the information, different possible types of information, legal, like logical, or possible emotional, so they can compare, like assimilate all that information and then make sound decisions. So that seems to be your energy which you're moving towards. Previously, you could have been blocked by it for some reason. And future situations, Devil. So either letting go of it or being stuck in some sort of fear that's blocking you from moving forward. So this pain could be pointing towards a relationship or relationships that needed to be released for you to turn into the star energy. And for this brief moment in time, especially during this Thanksgiving, if you had to let go, like if you had previously let go of some people during this moment where you're connecting with family and friends, you might be realizing that some of those peoples are left behind now. And that pain or that connection to them might be stopping you from fully moving onwards. So it could be people left behind in work, or it could be like friendships left behind, or something that you realized emotionally was no longer valid for you to stick up to. So every relationship comes up with an expectation. So at times we grow out of relationships because we realize the expectations behind it, they're not worth enough for us to go through the emotional cycle of that relationship. It could be repetitive cycle, it could be traumatic cycle, whatever cycle could be. Seemingly that relationship was blocking you from shining your true self, from shining who you are. The star energy pointing towards where you had to go through like deep soul searching cycles to find the space where you realize who you are is defined by you, and you yourself can tell who you are. So getting to that space would bring in all this King of Swords and Seven of Wands, like new opportunity coming towards you, and then you becoming this diplomatic leader to be truly showcase yourself with the right words and right spirit. That's where the Chariot energy is taking you towards. What's blocking you is thoughts about the relationships of the old, feeling or pain about it, or whatever has been left behind, the emotional, the psychological attachment towards it. That's blocking you from moving forward. Suggested advice or action: Five of Coins, and potential, and this context for this advice or action: Ten of Swords. So it could also be that there was a financial loss because of that relationship. There's definitely a painful conclusion. Ten of Swords. It's like a painful end has happened to that relationship. Or relationship. It could be like a whole set of like family relationship went away. Or love relationships went away. A friend, colleague. It seems like there's an ending of a major part of you. So for the moment, like when I just realized when I saw this card and I said ending a major part of you, I just want to take a moment and say that, especially this time, like when you're realizing that how much pain and suffering you've went through, and how much has been lost. Try to be grateful about where you have reached and how you have become your own star. It might be hard, especially when you're processing this devil, if you're processing this pain of loss and the hesitation about moving forward. That's blocking your chariot right now. That's blocking you from shining your true. You found your true energy. You've realized that some relationships were blocking it, or some associations like work, friendship, or otherwise, those associations were blocking it. You've realized those things need to be released, but there is an emotional and psychological attachment to it. And it's not so always easy to let go of everything we had created in the old. It's like it also reflects the efforts to our mind. It seems to be like an effort that got wasted. Effort spent in relationships got wasted. So that's where like Ten of Swords is pointing towards a painful conclusion. And it could also be that there was like a financial loss in terms of like if relationships ended or financial association ended. So they could be like a financial setback to you. That's further creating this fear of survivability of moving onwards. It's very genuine. It's very like almost everyone who would go through such a transition, almost everyone who starts learning who they are and goes through this transition, they will experience a moment of hesitation. They will experience a moment of shyness about truly believing in themselves, because time and again we have been told that all of us belong in a system, and becoming a star essentially means that you're creating your own system. If you think about, if like for a moment of time, if you think about if you became your own sun, then you would not be able to survive in this solar system. You have to go and create your own solar system. So that's how it's becoming. So that dissociation from the old and moving towards the new, that transition is not easy. And that's where this devil points towards attachments of the old, or the fear about survivability alone or with whatever you are left with. So suggested advice is to for a moment in time, you have to release the fear of survivability for you to be able to process and release the relationships that need to be left behind. Because those are more important, because you don't want them to be subconsciously replicated in a new environment. Because replicating them in a new environment would make you repeat a lesson of the old that brought you to this point. So any attachment to them would create an unconscious characteristics inside you that would still mimic that old relationship that was stopping you from shining your star. So in order to shine, you have to release that old attachment in any unconscious characteristics attached to it. There's a human tendency to develop behavioral characteristics in order to please people, please a counterpart in that association or relationship. Those negative, those unconscious characteristics, they actually become habits if we tend to meet similar people or tend to have an extended relationship with that certain person. And now realizing that that specific unhealthy characteristic inside you was blocking you from completely shining yourself. So it could be also you have had a relationship with a elder sibling or elder cousin or parent, uncle, family member, whoever, who basically created this fear inside you that you're not good enough to make it outside in the real world, or your skills are not appropriate enough for the world, so you should take a job which doesn't suit you but would make you at least survival wage. And that created a fear of survivability inside you, because that having that job, or being in that situation kind of created this cyclical effort, and then eventually a thought got incepted inside you that there is a need to survive. I'm not saying there's not a need to survive, but fearing survivability kind of makes us do or stay in situation where we don't want to be. So this painful ending is clearly pointing towards there is a need to release that old, and any fear about that money situation that came out of it. Hopes and fears, you're hoping for 10 of chalices. A true love relationship which truly connects to you. And potential outcome, Ace of Coins, Ace of Pentacles. So you're moving in the right direction. You will release those packages of the old. Or at least it seems like all the cards pointing towards it, that you will release the packages of the old. So King of Swords is a very important card, which during this transition process might not completely seem how can I be a diplomatic leader when I'm myself going through this transition phase where I'm releasing my relationships or associations with some people which no longer work. Especially in this moment, and how you handle those situations, how you truly interact in those situations, how you let go of the old, and then how you showcase your intellect and this newfound understanding about yourself. You're basically creating a new presence for yourself. You're re-establishing yourself in a past setting you were not completely or fully able to shine. So now for you to shine, that past setting cannot block you. But it's not really true that they will support you or someone else would come out to support you to counter what happened in the past where you were getting blocked. Rather, for yourself, you need to create a social presence for people, for other planets to be attracted towards your star energy. So that social presence needs to be created so that you can create a gravitational pull towards you. So moving forward, first you need to release the old to go into any direction. Releasing the old has to be done very tactfully, very diplomatically, very intently to define that old hasn't really impacted your emotions or your ability to act with by staying in the moment. What I mean by that is, in this moment, whatever has happened in the past no longer impacts you. It's all about how you see the situation, how your star needs to express itself in that situation, and that's it. Anything else is basically a devil which is making you stick in those unhealthy characteristics, those unconscious habits of old, which kept you in those bad, toxic, probably toxic relationships pointing towards the Ten of Sword cards. And if someone is blocking you from shining your true light, they are most likely a toxic relationship for you. So moving forward, finding these opportunities, finding the love situation that you're seeking, or it could also not be just a love relationship. It could be like Ten of Chalices points towards like very healthy emotional stability and emotional contentment. So it could be like a communion of people you are seeking, like a community coming towards you. And Ace of Pentacles is like a new starter energy to start new project and like succeed in it eventually. That will happen. You are in transition of releasing the old, being blocked by emotions of the past, like emotional and psychological attachments to those associations or fears of survivability. Because that's where like this 5 of coins card is, which is pointing towards like there is a fear of survivability. So suggestions for moving forward, like for during this transition process, be really patient when you're releasing this old. In fact, be grateful about all these associations because they taught you very important understandings about how you had unhealthy habits inside you. So be happy about that. And it's just like being grateful about you being given those opportunities to learn all that what you had to. Yes, the emotional baggage that it could have created that forced you to become this star, it could have been very hard, especially pointed by the 3 of Swords card, that it was a painful situation for you to go through. And the psychological trauma that you might have had suffered or whatever baggage you got created, to release that, it would take time. So rather than rushing through it, rather than charging through this entire time, take this moment to be grateful about some of the things that you learned. Especially during this holiday season, take a pause. And this year is like a very great reminder to take a pause, to not focus on just how money looks like or how everything outside looks like. It's also like who we are. So that transformation, you are going through it and you're doing a great job with it. Just that at times you get creeped up by fear of survivability, which is acceptable, especially if you came from a setup where you were supposed to take a job or you're supposed to be in a job which provide you a secured like annual salary. Now if that your realization made you aware that you need to release that space, you cannot no longer be in that space, it can by itself create a fear of survivability, because until now you had a secure job, now it's gone, or that situation no longer is valid for you. So that, because that is gone, that situation is no longer valid for you, there is a fear of survivability inside you that's also blocking you from moving forward. For time being, it's very important that you release that part. It's a suggested advice to release your fear of survivability. To don't worry about where the next paycheck would come from, to not to worry about how you would meet your ends. It's more important that you focus on processing these emotions and releasing those unhealthy habits, those unconscious habits that creep into your behavior, those habits which will which got designed in you because you were trying to keep some associations or relationships which were holding you down. Now, because you've released your associations or relationships, you can also release these habits. That needs to be processed so that when you move towards the new, you don't eventually revert from your star self to your old devil self, where you're stuck in fears or where you're stuck in cycles. You stay in your star self. To stay in your star self, you need to keep being true to yourself and not trying to be pleasing other people or trying to hope relationships survive. The relationships only survive for as long they need to be. Holding beyond it is basically, in a way, in a sense, like unrequired grief because if you hold a relationship beyond its expiry date, then it will make you do things that would not fully. What I'm trying to say is that those situations eventually make you act negatively towards you by staying in relationship beyond its expiry date. And you're already hoping and manifesting here, which is coming towards you. So the movement being blocked by the Three of Swords is clearly pointing, especially because this Chariot card is under that there's a need for you not to charge in this moment, rather process your emotions. Rather process this painful conclusion. That's what you need to process. So Taurus, I hope the message through the cards was which was very clear, was there is a need to release the baggages of the old, emotional trauma, psychological trauma, connections to the old. However, take time to do that. Take some moment to be grateful about you learning those lessons, because those lessons made you realize the unconscious habits inside you, the unhealthy habits inside you that could creep in to please other people and to keep those relationships beyond the expiry date. Now that you've realized that beyond an expiry date, you should not be maintaining those relationships and those unhealthy habits need to be released. You're in that transition phase and you're learning how to shine your star. You're learning how to express your true beliefs. You're learning how not to let your voice be pushed down. New relationships, new money, everything is coming in. If you're fearing survivability or how the next paycheck or how you meet the ends in future, release that. Things will move in. There are a lot of changes happening around, especially in this time. So for you, take this moment, take a pause, take a breather, just be happy about where you are. Process the old, release the negative emotions about it, release your unconscious habits of the old. It's cleanse yourself of old habits. Take these holiday time period to become a new exuberant self and who can shine and be their own sun, a star and sun. Relationship, pentacles, everything will come in. Just take time. Take time to process this ending. Be grateful about where you are. Release the unconscious habits of the old. You will find everything when you start shining your star as new. Taurus, I hope this reading connected with you. And if it did, there's an extended to it. In the extended, I will look more at your current overall energy, how this transition is going and how we can balance it more. Messages from the oracle regarding fear of survivability and how to let go of these emotions, and timing related to the money and the relationship coming towards you. All of that I will look in the extended. If you would like to join me there, the link for extension is below in the description box. I hope you liked the reading, and if you did, please do subscribe and share. Thank you for joining me and have an amazing week. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you. Bye.